was asked at the start of the year what video games would be contending for Game of the Year 2024, I would have mentioned AAA titles like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Black Myth Wukong. But never in a million years would I have imagined putting Astro Bot on that list. Yet, after 9 hours of incredibly fun gameplay, I can assure you that Astro Bot is one of the best video games I have played this year. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. The game has a 9 out of 10 review score from GameSpot and is currently at a solid 93% on Metacritic. Top that off with a 9 out of 10 from IGN, and you have one of the best reviewed games of this year. However, the trade-off is that the game costs $60, which seems like a little steep considering that Astro's Playroom came free with the PS5. Is Astro Bot worth the asking price, or is it just a really well-made ad for the PlayStation 5 Pro? Find out in today's review. All right, kicking things off with the development. Development on Astro Bot began almost immediately after the release of Astro's Playroom back in 2020. The game had a development cycle of about 3 years and required a team of 60 people to pull it off, which is super impressive when you consider how incredibly well done it looks. Unlike previous entries in the series, Astro Bot does not have a subtitle. This, as the game's creative director Nicholas Doucette points out, is to signify a new beginning in the Astro Bot series. In other words, Astro Bot has evolved from simply being a quirky PlayStation mascot to a full-fledged PlayStation exclusive platformer IP to rival other games like Super Mario Odyssey and Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This also means we are likely to get more Astro Bot games in the near future, a prospect that I'm super pumped for, as a game developed primarily to flex the muscles of the PS5, so much so that a separate team was formed just to focus on the adaptive triggers and haptic feedback alone. Now that's pretty hardcore. The game was officially announced on May 30th, 2024 during Sony's State of Play live stream presentation. Then it was released exclusively for the PS5 on September 6, 2024. Now let's talk about the story. Like similar games in this platformer genre, the storyline isn't really Astro Bot's strong suit. So, if you saw the PlayStation tag and were expecting some convoluted, gut-wrenching tale like The Last of Us, then I'm sorry to disappoint you. In Astro Bot, you play as a small robot traveling through space in a mothership shaped like a PlayStation 5 console with a group of other identical bots. Suddenly, you are attacked by a green alien known as a space bully Nebulax. Nebulax steals the CPU of the mothership, causing it to explode. This explosion causes part of your spaceship to be scattered all over the universe while simultaneously leaving your robot companion stranded. After being revived by a dual speeder, i.e. a smaller spacecraft in the shape of a DualSense controller, you are now tasked with traveling to various planets and galaxies, rescuing the stranded bots and recovering the parts needed to fix your PlayStation mothership. Like I said, the plot is pretty paper thin, but in its defense, the real charm of Astro Bot is not in the story alone, but in its thrilling platforming mechanics. Speaking of which, let's talk about the gameplay. As a 3D platformer, you navigate various levels sprawling with puzzles, collectibles, and enemies. The levels in Astro Bot are quite similar to those in previous entries or really any 3D Mario game. Where Astro Bot differs is in the sheer size and ingenuity of each of the levels. The game boasts a whopping 80 levels to explore, each which is split across 6 galaxies and 50 planets. I guess you could say Astro traded in his playroom for a literal universe. Each of these levels falls under 3 different difficulty settings: easy, normal, and hard. You traverse these levels using the normal move sets as in previous titles such as jumping, double jump, hovering, spinning, etc. The levels aren't exactly filled with fluff either. Several of Astro Bot's 80 levels are unique and masterfully designed. A great example is the bathhouse level, where you traverse an area with a traditional Japanese bathhouse theme. You also gain the bathhouse battle power-up and ability, which also allows you to soak up water and grow to kaiju proportions. Another level I really enjoy is the slow-mo casino, where you gain a masterful slow motion power-up. This ability definitely came in handy throughout my playthrough. Speaking of power-ups, Astro Bot has a ton of them, including 15 new additions to the ones from Astro's Playroom. Each of the power-ups feels powerful and significant, unlike the abilities you get in crappy games like Lawn Wonderland. From a rocket-powered bulldog to a power-up which shrinks you to the size of a mouse, all the game's abilities were fun and well thought out. With that said, a few special levels are modeled after popular PlayStation titles like God of War, Uncharted, and Ape Escape. In my opinion, these levels were the main highlights of the game. I particularly enjoyed the Kratos cameo level, where you get to fight and traverse through Midgard, all while using Kratos' famous Leviathan axe. Kratos isn't the only VIP bot you might bump into during your playthrough. Similar to Astro's rescue mission, every level contains a set number of bots that Astro has to rescue, along with boss fights and challenge levels. There are a massive 305 bots that can be rescued and recruited in total. Most of the bots look pretty much the same, but 150 of them are unique VIP bots, which look like characters from PlayStation titles both past and present. And I'm not just talking about popular franchises like Horizon series or Ratchet and Clank, but also more obscure or classic titles like Ico and Parappa the Rapper. The game had cameos and references for days, and as a guy who's been playing video games for about 3 decades now, I got a nice burst of nostalgia from finding each of the VIP bots. I was also pleasantly surprised to see bots from third-party games. These include Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid and even Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. The boss fights were also another huge highlight of the game. For a platformer involving retrieving missing PlayStation console parts, I didn't expect the boss fights to be so fun and intricate. There's a lot to pick from here, but I think the one with Mighty Chewy, the giant gorilla, is my favorite. Trust me, all this doesn't even scratch the surface of Astro Bot's incredibly fun gameplay. Without mincing words, I had to say it's the best fun I've had with a 3D platformer in a really long time. Alright, let's talk about the graphics and sound design. As expected of a game made precisely for the PlayStation 5 Pro, both the graphics and physics are stunning. It felt like I was playing through Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but with even more improved physics. The water, the ocean, and the fluid simulation in general is like nothing I've ever seen. Objects also have a higher amount of interactivity and destructibility than in other PlayStation titles. Despite all that, it still runs at a smooth 60 frames per second on the PlayStation 5, which I think is pretty cool. Astro Bot is way more visually and aesthetically pleasing than a platformer has any right to be. It looks great, it plays great, and it even sounds great. The music is diverse and melds seamlessly with each level. I love how they even recreated the theme music of the games related to the cameo level, especially the God of War theme song for Kratos and Atreus cameo. It may seem pretty insignificant, but it's those little things that made me fall in love with the game more and more. Now, about the commercial performance, it's still early days, but Astro Bot is not projected to be a spectacular financial hit for Sony. A post from Christopher Dring of GameIndustry.biz reveals that Astro Bot's opening week is about a third lower than 2021's Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. However, he expects the game to have a longer sales tail. This really doesn't come as a shock to me, since many still consider the game to be a simple PlayStation 5 showcase demo and Astro to be nothing more than PlayStation's mascot. Whether that conception will change soon is left to be seen. That said, it's already sold more copies in the UK in 2 days than Concord sold worldwide. That's obviously nothing to brag about, but it may also indicate higher sales figures to come. Now let's talk about the spirit of this game. For years, PlayStation has been on the hunt for the perfect mascot to rival Nintendo's Mario or Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. Characters like Crash Bandicoot, Jack the Daxter, and even Knack have had a go with little success, but with Astro Bot, it feels like PlayStation has finally found its very own poster boy. Team Asobi pulled out all the stops for Astro Bot's first real adventure. The graphics, the levels, and the puzzles are all immaculately designed. The awesome cameos and Easter eggs only went further to cement the game's status as an instant classic. Ultimately, it felt like Team Asobi were out to prove a point that Astro was not just a mascot, but an incredible IP that deserves your love and attention. I don't know if I speak for other gamers, but after my awesome 9-hour playthrough, I can say one thing for sure. Astro Bot has definitely got my attention now. Astro Bot is an incredible platformer with sprawling and well-designed levels that are begging to be explored, unique power-ups, and fun boss fights. To top it all off, it's bursting with nostalgic video game references, cameos, and enough PlayStation Easter eggs to make you reminisce about the good old days. It's a charming and adorable game made by PlayStation fans for PlayStation fans, and as far as platformers go, it's up there with Super Mario Odyssey and the likes. With that in mind, I have no qualms about giving this game a perfect 5 out of 5. It's definitely worth the asking price. So what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with my review? Let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe and ring that notification bell for updates on future videos. Thanks so much for watching this one, you guys. I had a blast playing this game. We'll see you in the next video.